Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Keith. Alright, so today we're going to run through a Spanish style guitar deal, flamenco style, whatever you want to call it. Really, I'm doing this because I think it's a fun little thing to put in your toolbox because it's not really that hard to play and it's a nice little party trick to whip it out whenever you want to impress somebody. So let's talk about it. Alright, so quick backstory about this. When I was in college, I was only playing guitar for about 4 or 5 years. And my sophomore year, I went to a party and these two guys went into their cars, got out a couple guitars, and did exactly what I just played you here, just with two guitars instead of one. It impressed me and it impressed a lot of people there. So what I had to do at that time was record it into my brain, memorize it as much as I can, at least the techniques I did, the sound and all that, and kind of translate that and figure it out. So what I'm going to show you today is the way I kind of think about this and approach it and give you my techniques. Now, it's worth noting that everything I'm going to show you here is just like I said. It's kind of a trick or, a fun thing to play. It's not abiding by a song structure per se. You could probably take anything that I'm showing you here and make your own song, but the way I use it is just either a warm-up or just to play, just to kind of, just say, hey, I could do this and maybe impress somebody while I'm at it. So take what you want, little bits and pieces, do what you want with them, but if you want to, kind of roll with that Spanish style flavor here, this is exactly what we're going to do. So let's discuss it starting right here with the guitar pick. So the guitar pick that I'm using is a Herco Flex 50. This is more of a plastic type of guitar pick. I'm using it instead of my Dunlop Tortex because that Tortex, it's a great pick, but it's a little softer, so it's not going to give as much of a bite, as much of an attack as a pick that has, more of a plasticky feel to it. That allows me to hit these higher notes a little more clearly than I would if I'm using the Tortex. So that's step number one, is the guitar pick. So what I want to do here is kind of divide this up between kind of the scale that I'm playing and the chords. So let's start with the scale. So the scale that I'm doing here is mainly just whole notes, right? Just on the B and the E strings. Now, what do I mean by that? If we just go up the fretboard and just hit the whole notes, no sharps, no flats, just straight E, F, G, A, B, C, D, then back to the E. Then you got the F if you want to do that. And then the same thing with the B string. B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. So if I stick with those, it doesn't matter how fast or how slow I roll with the scale there, it's going to sound Spanish style if you give it embellishments where it needs to. So here's an example of me running through that slow. And the same thing you could do with the B string if we stick within that structure. Alright, so it doesn't matter how fast or how slow you go there, it's going to sound kind of decent if you do that resolving on the chords, which we'll go to here in 1 second because I want to hit those 16th notes. Okay, so with the 16th notes, what I'm doing here is I'm taking my guitar pick and I am kind of perpendicularly slicing down on the strings while I'm resting my palm right here on the bridge. And I'm running through that same scale that I just showed you, up and down. And you could do the same exact thing on the B string, just it's a little harder because you have strings adjacent to it, so you got to be a little more careful. So that is going to take a lot of practice to kind of get that technique down. And the more you do it, the more fatigued your hand is going to get, so don't overdo it because throughout the night you are going to get a little bit slower and a little bit more sloppy. So take that as you will. Okay, so now that we have that scale, I wanted to go over this little legato bit here, because I feel like that's a really cool thing to do on electric guitar as well. So I'm just, and this is going to apply to the B and the E strings. Basically, you put your fretting hand on the 3rd fret of either the B or the E string, and you keep your index finger on either of those strings on the 1st fret, so that way you could hammer off. So let's just keep this anchored down here on that 3rd fret and then pull off. That's a good way to practice it. Just up and down, up and down, up and down. Then you could do a pull off with that index finger to kind of make that go full circle. Hope the mic is picking that up. So that is going to give us that nice little percussive, and that allows us to go back into the chord. Same thing with the B string. It might be worth practicing this on an electric guitar to kind of hone your skills with that, because it might be a little bit difficult on an acoustic guitar to get that to sound out. But you practice it over and over slowly and work yourself up, and you'll get there. I know it. So let's move on to the chords here. So when I'm doing this whole F to the G or the E, it's all essential to this whole Spanish style thing. So if I'm doing that little legato part, if I'm going to hit that F, I'm going to land on that 1st fret, whether it be the B string or the E string. So if I'm doing that little legato hammer on pull off thing on the E string and I want to resolve on the F, I'll resolve with my pinky right here on that F. Then hit that F. And what I like to do is take that, leave that open, then hit the E. Because the F, that F note's in that F, right? And that E is in that E. F, open E. And that same exact rule applies to the B string. Because the C right here on that B string, 1st fret, is part of that F chord. And then that open B is part of that E chord. So the same rule applies on both strings, they're just different notes. Alright, so if we go down to the chords, what I like to do is I like to drop my pick, or just lay it down here, and just use my strumming hand without a pick, and I'm going to be going between the E, the F, and the G, and then sometimes up to the A. But the key to making this whole thing kind of sound Spanish sounding is this E and the F and the G. If you could do that on its own, you have probably 75% of that sound for you. Maybe 90% of it. Okay, so now regarding the strumming pattern, I don't like to think of up, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. I think that's a little too complicated, and you could just really get caught in the weeds, and once your brain enters, you have left brain fighting with right brain. So think about it this way instead. Instead of up, up, down, up, let's think of it in terms of a pattern. I like to call it a gallop, right? So it's the gallop. So if we do that gallop, and then we add the chords, then that's a lot easier to think about than up, down, up, because I really don't know what up, down, up is in this context because I'm going so quick. So that is what the chords would sound like. Then once I want to kind of like crescendo something, I'm going to go up to that A, right? So let's do the E, F, G, and just randomly pick it and then go up to the A. And you'll notice when I'm kind of changing my strumming pattern, I'm going to hit that A and kind of make it more of a statement, right? So let's do that gallop. So yeah, that sounds pretty cool, right? Let's talk about this little trick here. I have a short on how to do this, my technique for doing it. I'll throw it up here, but you don't have to watch it because I'm going to show you right now how I do it. So I take my thumb of my strumming hand, rest it right here. Hopefully my mic isn't in the way, right on top of the fretboard. And then I'm going to flick up and down with a middle finger here, kind of as quick as I can. And then I'm going to just roll through without all these bar chords without the bar, right? So I'm just going to leave my index finger out of it. Go from that E to the F to the G. I'm leaving my index finger off of that and not barring it because what I want to happen are random open notes from the G, B, and E strings to kind of sneak their way in there. Sometimes, not all the time. Personally, I like the randomness of it. Sometimes being 100% tight doesn't always sound that great. Sometimes being a little bit fast and loose with it does, depending on what you're going for. In this case, that is what I'm going for. So you combine that whole thing here and just a real quick version of it. Let's start off with those 16ths because my wrist may or may not be tired. Let's see. And that's it. That's my little mini lesson on Spanish style guitar party trick. So I hope that was enjoyable. And seeing as how this is the last video of 2024, for me at least, I would like to thank everybody that subscribed and everybody that's tuned in. Special thanks and special shout out to my man Searching for Tone, Brian at Searching for Tone. That guy is a wonderful dude. I'll leave a link to his channel, so please check it out. So without further ado, have a happy rest of the year this year, and hopefully 2025 will be a good year. Let's hope so. So you have a good day. Talk to you later. Bye. Perfect.